Welcome back to Real Talk Twin Cities. I'm Eric Pirius along with Cheryl and Donna. All things real estate, local expert advice every Sunday at 6 o'clock. If you're thinking of buying or selling or refinancing, please give us a call. Or if you want a free market analysis, right, Cheryl?
Absolutely, free market analysis or free buyer consultation. You can call or text 612-735-0553. That's 612-735-0553.
Now, let's answer the question that I'm sure everyone's dying to know, pun intended. If there...
I'm not dying to know.
If there is paranormal activity, which I don't know how you determine that, but anyway, if there's paranormal activity, must it be disclosed when you are a seller?
You know, that's a really good question, Eric. The problem with paranormal activity is, how do you truly verify it? So the answer is no, we do not need to disclose it. So you better spend some time in that new home you're thinking about buying with your expert real estate agent, like the local agent team, to make sure you've got a good feeling about where you're gonna be sleeping at night.
No poltergeists, no one, no heads spinning and portals opening to the other world?
I would be running out of the house, but I have been known to carry holy water when I enter some of these homes.
Well, good, good. I'm glad to hear that. I want you as my agent.
I'm available.
So have you ever run into that? I mean, have you ever walked in, something feels funny, what's that noise, and just even something minor?
I have, yes, actually, a couple of times. I've been in homes where I've been scared to death. And in one home, I was actually trapped by two black cats that would not let me leave a dining room that was filled with crystals. And I actually got away, and I ran down the basement, and there was a casket with an open cross on the casket. And then I ran upstairs, and I was in this little room, and here it was a seance room. You know, we've got to save this for another day. This story
Okay.
would just take way too
Wow.
long. But to answer your question, yes. I've
Wow.
been there, I've been petrified.
Well, I guess it happens. So, Christopher, now, you were on the last segment, and I know that you're a local research historian. So you're an independent, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I work independently. I consult with colleagues on projects.
Okay. And the sort of folks that need your services are when they're buying or selling a historic home or other things, or?
Yes, I get hired when someone is either buying their house or just interested in the history or even selling their house.
Okay.
And where do you get your information?
Well, I know and understand my resources real well. Things like newspapers, building permits, directories, census records, land records, plat maps, insurance maps, photographic records, the list goes on and on.
Boy, that could take a lot of time. How much time do you think it normally takes to research one property?
Well, it depends on how long the project is, how long someone wants the project to be. I can put together short projects or very long projects, anywhere from 10-hour projects to over 100-hour projects.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I know that there are a lot of homeowners that have hired you guys for this
And
service.
To determine, you find out if there's been a death or something weird in the home, and that's probably by, news reports or maybe just talking to people.
Yes, I do find stuff like that all the time, and some pretty horrific stories sometimes.
So if people want to find out, if there's anything like that, or considering a historic home, how would they get a hold of you?
They can reach me by my Facebook page, Historic Buildings of Minnesota, or by
Okay.
my phone number, 612-363-1074.
612.
363-1074.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for that. And you said you had one more ghost story, something.
Yes, there's a house not too far from Irvine Park on Summit Avenue, 476 Summit, and it's been notoriously haunted since the 1880s when it was built. And people say they've seen like a little girl in the house. Also, I talked to a man who lived there in the 70s when he was growing up, and his father was scraping paint one day in the stairwell and found pentagrams and satanic symbols in the stairwell.
Wow.
Oh, that would be
So
scary. I
somebody-
wouldn't want to buy that house.
And so somebody might have died in that home as well.
Yes, there was also a large fire there which gutted the house in 1910.
Huh. Wow. Interesting. Well, thank you, Christopher. Much appreciated.
Yeah,
Again,
thank you.
You can reach him at Facebook, Historic Buildings of Minnesota. And so if someone dies in the house, you have to clean it up. And we introduced Sharon Robinson of Biohazard Removal Services earlier. She's with us now, and they work, her company works with trauma remediation and sterilization. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you for having us.
And it's actually Bio-Haz.
Bio-Haz.
Removal
Bio-Haz
Services.
Removal Services.
And we have Sharon Robinson and Christine Berg with us. One more just little interesting thing before we hear from you guys is a lot of these historic homes actually have a parlor in the home. And the purpose of the parlor was because back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there weren't funeral homes. And so homeowners would actually lay out the dead in the parlor for people to come and view. And funeral services were held in the home, like
Interesting.
Christopher was mentioning. And so that's completely reversed from today. Today, we really don't even want to think about our loved ones dying. And when it does happen, it's a big deal. So Sharon, tell us, how did you get involved with Bio-Haz, and explain what that is, first of all.
Well, first of all, we got involved years ago. We started in 1999 when we saw a need for people requiring professional services, people that could relate to their situation.
And
that's,
you were actually working with the police department, right?
yes, I was on the Woodbury Police Department in the early 70s, and through the course of working there, you get to meet a lot of people that had unforeseen circumstances and were just devastated. And back then, this was not talked about, things were hushed, and people did not get the type of help that was really required to get them through the trauma that they have experienced.
And some of the things that we're talking about would be if there was a murder or a suicide in a home today, and with single people living alone, sometimes somebody might die and not be discovered for a long period of time.
Cheryl, exactly. This happens more often than people realize. There are these unforeseen circumstances. People do commit suicide in various ways, various places, and everything does need to be dealt with and handled in according to state and federal regulations. This is something that we don't feel any family member or friend, co-worker should have to deal with.
Yeah,
So
and I don't think they would even be capable of taking care of it.
No,
Probably
no.
not. Legally, whose responsibility is it? You just mentioned that there's a requirement, state and, did you say state?
State and federal regulations,
Okay.
DNR also, they have regulations as far as how things are handled.
So that falls on the homeowner then? Or
Typically,
is it
it would go through the insurance
the
company.
insurance company? Okay.
Yeah, as far as responsibility, it's whether or not somebody has a trustee that's set up
I
with
see.
the estate, or the next one in line as far as a family member.
Okay.
There is a real fine line there with who is legally responsible. Again, that's something that sometimes attorneys get involved in, but for the most part, everything really does get handled through insurance companies.
So the insurance company contacts you, you contact the homeowner potentially, or you get in the house somehow, and then, or,
Most often it happens in the reverse.
Oh.
We do go as far as to help the family member, and we make that contact with the insurance company. Eric, what you have to realize here is that people are devastated. Most of them do not know where to turn.
Okay.
They do not know what to do next, other than call another family member. So we interact with them. We try to do as much for them as possible to take the load off of what they have to do. And we make the contact with the insurance company and set up the adjuster to come in and start the claim for them.
and how do you remove biohazards? What's the actual process? I mean, can you give us an example of a, I hate to say typical, but, of a job?
Well, honestly, it's probably less about how we actually go about it, with regards, it's the service itself that's important.
I see.
Contact with the trauma site and with people that are going in and out out of the home or in and out of the location,
Mhm.
there's always a risk for cross-contamination and putting other people at risk.
Oh, I see.
So we, you know, through our engineering and our own work practice controls, we're designed to eliminate and minimize exposure because of those strict laws that mandate how, you know, we go about taking items out of the home, transportation, and limiting the opportunity for contamination in the immediate removal area, so.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we're gonna hear more from you two about what you do and how you do it. So stick with us on realtalktwincities.com. I'm Eric with Bell Mortgage.
And Cheryl Kemteck with Cold Bank Burnett.
You can reach us at Real Talk Twin Cities for a free market analysis or a mortgage checkup. Be right back on AM 1280, The Patriot.